The mockery Captain Elena Vasquez adjusted her uniform one final time as she stood before the massive viewport of the transport vessel Endeavor. Beyond the reinforced glass, the greatest structure in the known galaxy slowly rotated in the darkness of space. Nexus Prime stretched for hundreds of kilometers, its gleaming surfaces reflecting the light of 7 different suns. This was the seat of the Galactic Assembly, home to the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Today, humanity would ask to join them. Elena had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. She had studied the languages, cultures, and customs of every major species in the assembly. She knew the Vorthic Empire valued strength above all else. She understood that the crystalline collective communicated through harmonic frequencies. She had memorized the complex social hierarchies of the aquatic dominion and the collective consciousness patterns of the hive. "Captain, we're receiving clearance to dock," announced Lieutenant Commander David Park, her second in command. His voice carried the same mixture of excitement and nervousness that Elena felt in her own chest. "Thank you, David. Signal the crew to prepare for formal diplomatic protocol. Today, we make history." The Endeavor was humanity's finest achievement in space technology. Built over 5 years, using every resource Earth could spare, it represented the pinnacle of human engineering. A ship gleamed with polished titanium and carbon fiber composites. Its fusion engines hummed with clean energy, and its communications array bristled with the most advanced electronics human science could produce. To Elena, it was magnificent. To the galaxy, it was about to become a source of amusement. The docking procedure took 2 hours. The aliens insisted on multiple security scans, biological contamination checks, and technological assessments. Elena endured it all with patient dignity, knowing that first impressions would matter immensely in the coming negotiations. Finally, she and her diplomatic team were escorted through the corridors of Nexus Prime. The station's interior was a marvel of alien architecture. Walls seemed to flow like liquid metal, adjusting their shape to accommodate the different physiologies of the assembly's member species. Gravity fields shifted smoothly from section to section, allowing creatures adapted to different planetary conditions to move comfortably through the same spaces. Their escort was a member of the Ethereal Conclave, a being of pure psychic energy, contained within a shimmering humanoid form. It communicated through direct thought transmission, its words appearing clearly in Elena's mind without the need for spoken language. "The assembly awaits your petition, human. You should know that few species are granted membership on their first application. Most require several centuries of observation and evaluation." Elena kept her expression neutral. "We understand the gravity of this moment. Humanity comes before the assembly with great respect and genuine desire for peaceful cooperation." The ethereal being's form flickered with what might have been amusement. "We shall see." The assembly chamber was breathtaking. 7 massive platforms floated in perfect formation around a central speaking area, each one designed to accommodate the specific needs of its respective species. The Vorthic platform was a fortress of black metal and red lights, befitting their militaristic nature. The crystalline collective's platform hummed with pure energy, its surfaces constantly shifting between different geometric patterns. The Zephyr Confederacy existed as a swirling cloud of gas contained within a transparent sphere, while the mechanic synthesis platform bristled with mechanical appendages and digital displays. Elena walked to the center of the chamber, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. Around her, representatives of 7 civilizations watched with varying degrees of interest and skepticism. These were beings who had mastered faster-than-light travel, while humans were still learning to control fire. They had built empires spanning entire star systems, while humanity struggled with basic spaceflight. "Honored delegates of the Galactic Assembly," Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "I am Captain Elena Vasquez, speaking on behalf of the United Earth government. We come before you today to request membership in your great alliance. The response was immediate and devastating. Laughter filled the chamber, not the polite chuckles of diplomatic courtesy, but genuine, mocking laughter that echoed off the walls. Elena felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she maintained her composure. General Thrax of the Vorthake. Empire spoke first, his voice a deep rumble that seemed to come from the depths of his armored chest. Humans wish to join the assembly? You barely qualify as a spacefaring species. Your fastest ships take months to travel between planets in your own system. We cross the galaxy in days. The laughter grew louder. A harmonic voice from the crystalline collective added its own derision. Your technology is primitive by our standards. You still use chemical combustion for propulsion. You have not even mastered antimatter containment or quantum field manipulation. Elena tried to respond. We understand our technology is not as advanced as yours, but we offer other valuable contributions. Our species has a unique perspective on problem solving, and our cultural diversity could benefit the Assembly's collective knowledge. This statement provoked even more laughter. A representative from the aquatic dominion, its tentacles writhing with amusement, spoke through a translation. Device. Cultural diversity? Every species in the Assembly has millions of years of cultural evolution. What could a species that has barely left its home planet possibly offer us? The hive consciousness spoke next, its voice a chorus of thousands of individual minds speaking in unison. Your species lacks unity. You are divided into hundreds of separate nations, constantly warring with each other over resources we consider worthless. Your planet is polluted, your societies are unstable, and your people cannot even agree on basic principles of governance. Elena felt something cold settle in her stomach. These beings weren't just rejecting humanity's application. They were systematically dismantling everything she had hoped to offer. The ethereal conclave's representative materialized closer to Elena, its form pulsing with condescending energy. Perhaps most concerning is your species' violent nature. Your history is filled with warfare, genocide, and environmental destruction. Why would we invite such chaos into our peaceful alliance? General Thrax leaned forward on his platform. Your weapons are particularly amusing. Chemical explosives and projectile weapons? We abandoned such primitive tools millennia ago. Our most basic defense systems could neutralize your entire military without effort. The Zephyr Confederacy's gaseous form, swirled with what Elena had learned, was their equivalent of laughter. Your ships are slow, your weapons are weak, your technology is backwards, and your people are divided. What possible benefit could you bring to the Assembly? Elena felt the weight of failure settling on her shoulders. 3 years of preparation, 5 years of building the Endeavor, and humanity's greatest diplomatic effort were crumbling before her eyes. But she refused to let despair show on her face. We understand your concerns, she said quietly. If membership is not possible at this time, perhaps we could discuss some form of limited cooperation or cultural exchange program. The laughter reached a crescendo. General Thrax's reptilian features twisted into what Elena recognized as a sneer. Limited cooperation? What could we possibly learn from you? Your entire species is an evolutionary dead end. You will likely destroy yourselves within a few centuries, as so many primitive species do. The crystalline collective's voice rang with harmonic derision. Perhaps we should offer you protectorate status instead. You could serve as laborers or research subjects. Your primitive perspective might provide some minimal scientific value. Elena felt anger flare in her chest. We did not come here to become anyone's servants. Then you came here for nothing, declared the Aquatic Dominion's representative. Return to your small blue planet and play with your chemical rockets. The galaxy is no place for species that cannot even master basic energy manipulation. The hive consciousness added their collective voice to the dismissal. Come back in 1,000 years when you have learned to properly harness nuclear fusion. When you have unified your world. When you have developed technology that extends beyond your immediate solar system. Perhaps then you will be ready for the responsibilities of galactic civilization. Elena looked around the chamber at the 7 species that controlled the galaxy's fate. Each one regarded humanity with the same mixture of amusement and disdain. To them, humans were not potential allies or even worthy enemies. They were simply an irrelevant curiosity from an unremarkable corner of space. We understand your position, Elena said, her voice steady despite the humiliation burning in her chest. Earth withdraws its application for membership. We will pursue our own path among the stars. General Thrax waved a clawed hand dismissively. See that you do not interfere with assembly affairs. The galaxy is dangerous for primitive species. Many civilizations have discovered this truth too late. The ethereal conclave's representative flickered with what might have been boredom. Do not contact us again until you have something worthwhile to offer. We have no time for species that overestimate their own importance. The transmission ended, leaving Elena and her team standing in the sudden silence of the chamber. The platforms began to separate, the delegates returning to their respective sections of the station. Elena watched them go, memorizing every detail of their dismissive attitudes and condescending words. Lieutenant, Commander Park approached her quietly. Captain, the return journey to Earth will take 3 months. Should I prepare the crew for departure? Elena continued staring at the empty platforms where the galaxy's most powerful beings had just humiliated her species. Yes, David, it's time to go home. As the Endeavor undocked from Nexus Prime and began its long journey back to Earth, Elena stood once again before the viewport. The massive station shrank slowly in the distance, its lights fading until it was just another point of light among the stars. They think we're a joke, she murmured to herself. David Park joined her at the viewport. What do we tell Earth Command? Elena smiled for the first time since the meeting began. It was not a pleasant expression. We tell them the truth. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations have just made a very serious mistake. What mistake is that? They underestimated us. They assume that because our technology is primitive, we are primitive. They think that because we're divided, we're weak. They believe that because we're young, we're stupid. Elena's smile grew wider. They're about to learn that sometimes the biggest threat comes from the enemy you don't take seriously. Asterisk, the awakening 5 years had passed since the humiliation at Nexus Prime. 5 years of silence from the small blue planet that had dared to ask for membership in the Galactic Assembly. The 7 civilizations had forgotten about humanity entirely, dismissing Earth as another failed species that had overreached and retreated back to their primitive corner of space. They were catastrophically wrong. Dr. Marcus Chun stood in the laboratory complex beneath the Swiss Alps, watching as his team carefully dissected a piece of alien technology. The device was roughly the size of a human torso, composed of materials that shouldn't exist according to Earth's understanding of physics. Its surface shifted between different states of matter, sometimes appearing solid, sometimes flowing like liquid, occasionally flickering with contained energy. Analysis complete, Dr. Chun, announced Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's lead xenotechnologist. The device appears to be a multi-dimensional power core from a crystalline collective vessel. The energy output is approximately 10,000 times greater than our most efficient fusion reactors. Marcus nodded, making notes on his tablet. Any progress on reverse engineering the containment field? We've identified the basic principles. The field uses quantum entanglement to create a stable pocket of space-time that can contain exotic matter. Give us another month, and we should have a working prototype. This was the secret of humanity's transformation. In the 5 years since Alana's humiliating rejection, Earth had become the galaxy's most successful scavenger. Human ships, disguised as ordinary space debris or asteroid mining operations, had quietly collected abandoned alien technology from battlefields across the galaxy. The 7 civilizations of the Assembly fought constantly among themselves. Border disputes, trade disagreements, and territorial expansions created a steady stream of damaged vessels and discarded equipment. What the aliens considered worthless wreckage, humanity treated as priceless treasure. Captain Sarah Mitchell piloted her stealth ship Shadow, hunter through the debris field of a recent battle between the Vorthic Empire and the Zephyr Confederacy. Her vessel looked like a standard asteroid mining platform, complete with industrial equipment and ore processing facilities. The disguise was perfect, allowing her to operate in contested space without drawing attention. "Captain, we've located the target," reported Chief Engineer Tom Bradley. "Vorthic heavy cruiser, approximately 70% intact. Looks like the crew evacuated before the power core failed." Sarah studied the massive alien vessel through her ship's sensors. The cruiser was 5 times the size of any ship in Earth's official fleet, armed with weapons that could destroy entire cities. To the Vorthic, it was just another casualty of war. To humanity, it was a gold mine of advanced technology. "Any sign of active systems?" "Negative, Captain. The ship's been cold for about a week. No life support, no communications, no defensive." "Systems. Perfect." Tom prepped the salvage teams. "I want everything that isn't nailed down, and half of what is. Weapons, shields, engines, computers, environmental systems. Even the bathroom fixtures, if they might teach us something new." This was the pattern that had repeated thousands of times over the past 5 years. Human salvage teams worked across the galaxy, collecting the technological debris of alien conflicts. Each piece of recovered equipment was carefully analyzed, reverse engineered, and integrated into humanity's growing technological base. On Earth, the transformation was remarkable. The old International Space Station had been replaced by a massive orbital shipyard that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Ships moved in and out of the construction bays, but they bore little resemblance to the primitive vessels humanity had used before the Assembly's rejection. Admiral Elena Vasquez, promoted after her return from Nexus Prime, stood in the command center of Orbital Station Alpha. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the gleaming hulls of humanity's new fleet. The ships were sleek and deadly, incorporating design elements from all 7 Assembly civilizations. "Status report, Admiral," requested Director Rebecca Santos, head of the Global Defense Initiative. "We now have operational fleets in 43 different star systems," Elena reported. "All hidden, all operating under false identities. The aliens still think we're confined to our home system. The truth was far more complex. Humanity had established a network of secret colonies throughout the galaxy, each one carefully hidden from Assembly surveillance. These bases served as staging areas for salvage operations, research facilities, and intelligence gathering posts. Dr. Chan's voice crackled through the communication system from his underground laboratory. "Admiral, I have an update on the technology integration project. We've successfully combined Vorthic weapon systems with crystalline, collective power cores, and Zephyr Confederacy propulsion technology. The result is a weapon platform that exceeds the capabilities of any single Assembly species." Elena smiled grimly. "How much more powerful?" "A single human destroyer can now defeat a full squadron of Vorthic heavy cruisers. Our stealth technology, adapted from ethereal conclave designs, makes us effectively invisible to their sensors. And our new quantum shields, based on mechanics synthesis principles, can absorb and redirect energy weapons with 97% efficiency. The secret of humanity's success was their ability to synthesize technologies from different species. The assembly civilizations had spent millions of years developing their own specialized approaches to science and engineering. The Vorthik focused on weapons and armor. The crystalline collective mastered energy manipulation. The Zephyr Confederacy achieved unparalleled speed and maneuverability. Asterisk. But humans had learned from all of them, creating hybrid technologies that combined the best features of each civilization. While the assembly species remained locked in their traditional approaches, humanity had evolved beyond any single alien. Capability. Captain Mitchell's voice came through the communication system from the outer rim. Admiral, we've completed salvage operations in the Kepler 442 system. We recovered intact examples of aquatic Dominion biocomputers and hive consciousness. Neural networking systems. The science teams are very excited about the potential applications. Elena nodded. Any sign that the aliens are beginning to notice our activities? None whatsoever. They're too busy fighting each other to pay attention to what they consider empty space. The Vorthik Empire is mobilizing for a major offensive against the Zephyr Confederacy. The Crystalline Collective is trying to mediate, but they're also building up their own defensive forces. The smaller species are choosing sides, or trying to stay neutral. This was exactly what Elena had hoped for. He Assembly's arrogance had blinded them to humanity's activities. They were so focused on their traditional enemies that they completely ignored the primitive species they had dismissed 5 years ago. Director Santos pulled up a holographic display showing the current state of galactic politics. The situation is developing perfectly. The major powers are exhausting themselves in pointless conflicts while we continue to grow stronger. Elena studied the display, noting the positions of various alien fleets and the locations of recent battles. What about the intelligence reports? From our deep cover agents? Excellent news on that front. Agent Rodriguez has been accepted into the Vorthik Military Academy. Agent Kim has gained access to crystalline collective research facilities. Agent Thompson is working as a communications technician for the Zephyr Confederacy. They're feeding us real-time intelligence on all major assembly activities. The Deep Cover program was perhaps humanity's greatest achievement. Using advanced disguise technology and surgical modifications, human agents had infiltrated every major assembly civilization. They worked as merchants, soldiers, technicians, and researchers, gathering intelligence and occasionally sabotaging critical operations. Dr. Chun's voice came through the speakers again. Admiral, I need to report something concerning. Our analysis of recent alien communications suggests they may be planning some kind of joint operation. The details are encrypted, but the traffic patterns indicate coordination between multiple species. Elena frowned. What kind of joint operation? Unknown, but the scale is massive. We're detecting fleet movements from all 7 assembly civilizations. Whatever they're planning, it's bigger than anything we've seen before. The answer came 3 days later. Captain Mitchell's stealth ship was monitoring a gathering of assembly fleets in the Proxima Centauri system when she detected an enormous military buildup. Thousands of ships from all 7 civilizations were assembling in formation. Admiral, you need to see this, Mitchell reported urgently. The entire assembly fleet is gathering at the edge of human space. It looks like they're preparing for a coordinated assault on Earth. Elena felt ice form in her stomach. How did they find out about our activities? I don't think they know about our technological advances. The communication chatter suggests they still think we're primitive. But something has made them decide that humanity needs to be eliminated entirely. The truth was both simpler and more terrifying than Elena had imagined. The Assembly hadn't discovered humanity's secret activities, but they had noticed the increasing chaos in galactic politics. Pirates were becoming more bold and effective. Rebel groups were acquiring advanced weapons from unknown sources. Trade routes were being disrupted by mysterious raiders who struck without warning and vanished without trace. The Assembly leadership had concluded that some unknown force was destabilizing the galaxy. Their solution was to eliminate all potential threats, starting with the species they considered most likely to cause trouble, the violent, unpredictable humans. General Thrax stood on the command bridge of the Vorthic flagship Dominator, watching as the combined Assembly fleet formed up around him. 7,000 warships from 7 different civilizations, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Their target was the small blue planet that had dared to request membership 5 years ago. "All fleets report ready for jump to hyperspace," announced his tactical officer. Estimated arrival time at Earth, 6 hours. Thrax nodded with satisfaction. The humans had no idea what was coming. Their primitive sensors couldn't detect the Assembly fleet at this distance, and their pathetic military forces would be overwhelmed within minutes of the attack beginning. "Send the final communication." "To Earth," he ordered. "Tell them they have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally, or their planet will be sterilized." The transmission reached Earth just as Admiral Elena Vasquez was reviewing the latest intelligence reports. The alien message was brief and brutal. Surrender or face total annihilation. The Assembly fleet would arrive in 6 hours, and humanity had 1 hour to decide their fate. Elena stood in the Global Defense Command Center, surrounded by the leaders of Earth's military and scientific communities. Around her, displays showed the positions of human fleets throughout the galaxy, the status of Earth's orbital defenses, and the locations of the secret colonies humanity had established over the past 5 years. "They think they're about to destroy a primitive species," she said quietly. "They have no idea what we've become." Director Santos activated the global communication system. "All human fleets, this is command. Operation Revelation is now active." Repeat, Operation Revelation is now active. Across the galaxy, humanity's hidden fleets began to move. Ships that had been disguised as cargo vessels suddenly revealed themselves as heavily armed warships. Space stations that had appeared to be mining platforms deployed weapon systems that had never been seen before. The primitive species that the Assembly had dismissed was about to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. Elena walked to the main display, which showed the approaching Assembly fleet. 7,000 ships, representing millions of years of technological development and military experience. It should have been an overwhelming force, completely unstoppable by any single species. But the Assembly had made one critical error. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for adaptation, learning, and growth. In 5 years, humans had not only matched their technology, but had surpassed it by combining the best features of all 7 civilizations. "Open a channel to the Assembly fleet," Elena commanded. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the Vorthic flagship. General Thrax appeared, his reptilian features twisted into a sneer of anticipated victory. "So, the primitive humans finally respond. Have you come to beg for mercy?" Elena smiled coldly. "General Thrax, I remember our last conversation. You and your allies found humanity's request for membership quite amusing. You laughed at our primitive technology, our divided nature, our violent history. Your point, human. My point is that you made a mistake. You assumed that because we appeared weak, we were weak. You believed that because we seemed primitive, we would remain primitive. You thought that because we were young, we were stupid." Thrax's expression began to change as he noticed something in the background of Elena's transmission. Through the windows of the command center, he could see massive orbital defense platforms surrounding Earth. The weapon systems were unlike anything in the Assembly's arsenal. incorporating design elements from all 7 civilizations. Impossible, he whispered. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Was centuries behind yours, Elena corrected. But we've been busy these past 5 years. While you were fighting each other over territory and resources, we were learning from your mistakes. While you were so focused on your traditional enemies, we were studying your strengths and weaknesses. More details became visible on the transmission. The Earth that Thrax had expected to find defended by primitive chemical rockets was instead protected by a military infrastructure that rivaled the Assembly's greatest strongholds. You've been stealing our technology, Thrax accused. We've been collecting what you threw away, Elena replied. Every battle you fight leaves behind wreckage. Every fleet engagement generates debris. What you consider worthless garbage, we've turned into the foundation of a technological revolution. The Assembly fleet was now within range of Earth's outer sensor networks. What they found was shocking. The human homeworld was not the primitive backwater they had expected. It was a fortress surrounded by defensive systems that incorporated the most advanced features of all 7 Assembly civilizations. Elena continued. Her transmission. You came here to destroy what you thought was a weak, primitive species. Instead, you've brought your fleets within range of the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Your 7,000 ships are impressive, General. But they're about to face something they've never encountered before. What's that? Thrax demanded. A species that learned from everyone else's mistakes. The battle for Earth began with humanity's first demonstration of their new capabilities. The Assembly fleet's sensors detected thousands of human ships decloaking. Around them, vessels that had been completely invisible on Asterisk.